did Jesus say that made the Jews so angry and so enraged? What can be said that stirs up their emotions to the point that they just don't want to silence you, and is so offensive that it's not enough just to throw you out of the city, but they would have them seeking to kill you? You want to know what it is that Jesus said? Do you realize that you are today, over 2,000 years later, that you are saying the very same thing if you're a Christian? Hi, my name is David, and this is Something to Consider. Today I want to talk to you about something that Jesus said. And I want to bring something to your attention that may help you understand a little better something about what might be happening in your own growing relationship with God. You see, I have some dear brothers in the faith who are having some challenges as they walk out the call of God in their life, and maybe you're experiencing some of the same things. And it has to do with the resistance that they're meeting with within these denominational churches that they attend. And this resistance is coming from fellow believers in God. And not just believers in God, but leaders in the church who are not just, not really welcoming these brothers into their buildings, into their churches. And some of it has to do with these young men of God who are being seen as perceiving to make themselves equal with God. And to those in the establishment, this is practically heresy, if not downright blasphemous. Now, you may remember that in John 5:18, it is written, "Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him," speaking of Jesus, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but he was also making himself equal with God. This is John chapter 5 and verse 18. But first, let me point out that whenever we see a reference to the Jews in the New Testament, especially as associated with the Sanhedrin or the Pharisees or the Sadducees, you can kind of think of these references to the Jews, now in modern terminology or in contemporary language, today's language, as describing the establishment. Some may call it the conventional church. Others may say, I've heard them say it's the traditional church. But all in all, what it represents is a way of thinking about God instead of having a relationship with God. So today, people say things like, well, that's just the way we've always done it around here. You ever heard of that one? or maybe it's cousin, we don't do things like that around here. Yeah, so, these are the kinds of things that are said in these traditional, powerless, churches. And I want to tie this now back to the Jews who, again, represent this establishment way of thinking about God. They were seeking all the more to kill Jesus. You'll notice that it's because of what he did and what he said. So the question is, what did he do? Well, he broke the Sabbath. And how did he do that? Well, you remember that in Jerusalem, by the sheep market, there was this pool called Bethesda. And the angel would during these certain seasons, it would stir the pool water for healing. And there was this man who had this infirmity for 38 years that had prevented him from standing or even walking. And Jesus healed him on the Sabbath. This is how he broke the Sabbath. So we know that the Jews, the religious order, the establishment, wanted to kill him for that. And we also know, as it is written, but he was also making himself equal with God. So here's the question. How was he also making himself equal with God? How did Jesus make himself equal with God? Was it something he said, or was it something that he did? Well, we know from the account of Scripture in John chapter 10 that it was both because of what he did and what he said. The Jews had gone so far as to claim that Jesus had a devil. Remember in John chapter 10, verse 20, it says, "And many of them said he hath a devil and is mad. Why do you hear him?" So it's clear that they heard him say something that in response led them to say, quote, he was making also himself equal with God. So what was it that he said? What is this most blasphemous of all things that can come out of the mouth of a man that would elevate his stature to this level of heresy? What could Jesus possibly be saying to these Jews that are already out for his blood, for breaking the Sabbath, that would then provoke them to the point that they sought the more to kill him? So what did Jesus say that made the Jews so angry and so enraged? What can be said that stirs up their emotions to the point that they just don't want to silence you, and is so offensive that it's not enough just to throw you out of the city, but they would have them seeking to kill you? You want to know what it is that Jesus said? Do you realize that you are today, over 2,000 years later, that you are saying the very same thing if you're a Christian? What Jesus was said and what is written is that he said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Now, let me ask you this question. Are you calling God your Father? It's certainly something to consider.